Good morning. I'm Nicole Laha, and I represent our 82nd District, which covers portions of Will, Cook, and DuPage counties. Yesterday, we saw a full day wasted again. In the Illinois House, we saw this stunning show of misplaced priorities. Instead of focusing on any bills that actually make life easier in Illinois, time was wasted on tasteless tactics to punish dissent. The House spent hours debating resolutions that offer no real solutions, no substantive policy changes, and no help for the families that we represent. This kind of political grandstanding wastes both time and taxpayer dollars. We showed up ready to work, ready to deliver solutions. There are important needs, from housing to healthcare to public safety to job creation. But instead, Illinois Democrats spent limited time on performative politics. This dangerous rhetoric coming from across the aisle, both in Springfield and across Illinois, has real consequences. Consequences that my family has seen firsthand after politically motivated death threats against us this summer. These gotcha resolutions may be games to the Democrats, but they're very real to some of us. My children are scared to walk to the bus every single day because of political games. I spoke up on the House floor yesterday to make it very clear. Political violence is real, but using it as a partisan weapon helps no one. To continue down this path is very dangerous. We must do better. We owe it to our families, to the people of our communities, and to those we love. We owe it to the integrity of this House. We must make a difference. We must make changes to the misguided priorities that are placed on full display in the Illinois House this week. Thank you. I am now going to pass this off to Representative Jeff Kiker.
Thank you, Representative. Jeff Kiker, 70th District, which represents parts of DeKalb, Kane, and McHenry County. I want to talk to you today a little bit about the tax situation that we have going on in the state of Illinois, and I want to paint a picture for you. So when I got into public service, my driving desire to help the people of state of Illinois is to help grow our economy. I think we can all admit and all share that Illinois doesn't tax its way out of the problems we've created. Illinois needs to grow its way out of the hole that we've found. One of the biggest issues, let me tell you a little bit of a story. One of the biggest issues that all of us hear is the issue of property taxation in the state of Illinois and how much of a burden it is even after you pay off your mortgage. In 2019, Republican legislators in the House came together and proposed a number of incentives, and one of them was the data center incentive. In my district is part of one of the data centers that landed in 2021, and I want to tell you a little bit of a story about the city of DeKalb as it relates to property taxation. So one of the biggest things that's getting missed in the discussion about taxes is how to drive down, but at the same time provide supports for our local communities and help lower the overall tax burden of the people of the state of Illinois, especially with property taxes being so large. So I want to share with you the last 5 average property tax rates from the city of DeKalb. 5 years ago, it was 11.5% on average. And this is from all taxing bodies based on EAV. Dropped to 11.1 the next year, 10.1 the year after that, 9.5 the year after that, and 7.9 in the current year. In a matter of 5 years, they've dropped the tax rate from 11.5% to 7.9%. The people of DeKalb have seen their property tax bills each year go down. That's what Illinoisans want. That's what Illinoisans expect. And how did they do this? Through the enterprise zone structure and through the abatement structure that the property taxing units in DeKalb County put together and allowed a hyperscale data center to arrive there. It has not only lowered the property taxes, but provided additional funds to the city to deploy and grow their first responders, to build an additional fire station. You look at the schools, DeKalb just opened an additional school. And unfortunately, I don't represent the entire area of DeKalb because I was gerrymandered out of there during the last map. So we won't go into too much depth, but that's what's possible in the state of Illinois. We need to grow. We need to look at the tax regimen that's currently being proposed by our governor. If any of you paid attention to the hearing this morning that we had in the International Relations, Trade, and Commerce Committee, we heard from both the Illinois Manufacturers President Mark Denzler, as well as Intersect Illinois President Christy George, that the proposed decoupling of the tax incentives from the federal regimen will damage and hurt the ability for manufacturers to choose Illinois, invest in Illinois, and continue to grow their employment base in the state of Illinois. We've got to quit harming all of the folks that are still here committed to Illinois. You know, during the last spring, I visited with COGFA, and I asked COGFA to run some data for me. And I asked them to look at the population of the state of Illinois as it pertains to the 6 states that we border on. And I asked them specifically, so that we had certified numbers, to look from 2010 to 2020. And the question I asked is, what is the Illinois population missing if we had grown at the average rate of just the 6 states that we touch? 10 years, not the 5 cents, the 10-year period from 2010 to 2020. Illinois' population in that 10-year period of time would have had 722,000 additional people. Of those additional people, on average, 451,000 additional people working, generating an average household income of $26,609 million. And with the multiplying effect, that results in a net growth of the Illinois GDP of nearly $250 million a year. And because of the policies that continue to chase Illinoisans away, which are the nickel and dime taxes currently being proposed by the governor and Democrats, we are going to continue to see fewer and fewer people left to hold the burden, paying more, and developing an exit strategy from Illinois. And that's what we need to change. We need to make it easier for Illinoisans to choose to stay by helping them reduce their tax burden. And I can't understand why my Democrat colleagues cannot get that through their head. I now turn it over to Leader C.D. Davidsmeyer.
Thank you, Leader Kiker. I'm State Representative C.D. Davidsmeyer, and I represent all or part of 10 counties in west central Illinois, right on the border, where I've seen a number of my constituents just hop on the other side and put up residence over in Missouri. As we were preparing for veto session this week, I was trying to think of a way to make this place a little less political, to figure out a way for all of us to come together. And what is one issue that we should all be able to come together on? Safety of our families and political violence. So 1 week ago today, I filed House Resolution 494, which is a bipartisan resolution that condemns political violence and encourages people to engage in civil, respectful, and bipartisan political discussions and behavior. As the House convened for veto session on Tuesday, I spoke on the floor about House Resolution 494, and I asked my colleagues on both sides to come together and join me in condemning many specific recent examples of political violence across the country, which were both Republican and Democrat, even across the board, right? I thought that was something that would bring us together. But apparently it was an effort to unify what seems to be ununifiable. Unfortunately, it appears that one side here only wants to play games and play politics, while the rest of us want to create policies and find solutions that allow Illinois to thrive. Yesterday, the House Democrats introduced a resolution, H.R. 508, and they say that it condemns political violence, but it also throws in political shots at our president as well as members of law enforcement. The purely political talk that we saw yesterday does not make things better for our constituents. It was an effort to divide this House and to keep it divided. We have to figure out a better way to move forward for the people of Illinois. Illinois is not getting better this way. It's not getting safer. Many of the policies that have come through this very House are the reasons why the federal government is here right now. Because not only has this body refused to allow the enforcement of federal law, they made it illegal for our law enforcement to enforce the law, which is why federal authorities have come in to enforce federal law. We need to figure out a way to better serve Illinois families. When the majority party talks about political violence and then says, Trump, Trump, Trumpity Trump, it doesn't do anything to make my family feel safer, and it doesn't do anything to make their families any safer. We have to come together to say enough is enough. No buts, enough is enough. End the political hate, stop the political violence. When I spoke on Tuesday, I told everybody on the House floor that I care about each and every one of them. And as people, I do. We disagree, and that happens, and that's okay because you have to have discussions, and there has to be some disagreement here and there. But let me say this. Let's work together, both parties, legislators from all corners of this great state, to strengthen our economy, to reduce the cost of living for Illinoisans, and yes, work with federal authorities to enforce all laws and deport dangerous criminal aliens.